You see them everywhere, right? In the news, on your social media feed, these huge economic terms that are supposed to be super important. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on all that jargon and make it make sense. You hear it constantly. The economy is booming, or GDP is up this quarter. These phrases are thrown around like we all know exactly what they mean. But what story are they really telling us? Honestly, it can feel a little confusing, but that's exactly what we're here to break down. So let's start at the very beginning. First things first, we need to get one major distinction straight. People use the words economics and the economy like they're the same thing, but they're not. Not at all. Think of it this way. One is the rulebook, and the other is the game itself. So let's start with economics. This is the academic side of things. It's the science, the study. You can really think of it as the rulebook. It's all about figuring out how we, as people, as companies, as whole countries, make choices about the limited resources we have, things like land, labor, and capital, to try and get the most bang for our buck. Okay, so if economics is the rule book, then the economy is the actual game being played out in the real world. This is where all those theories and studies get put into practice. So when you hear someone talking about the Indian economy or the US economy, they're talking about the real living system of making, buying, and selling stuff that's happening in those places right now. Now, when economists look at this massive, complicated game, they don't just stare at the whole thing at once. Nope. They have two different lenses they can use. One lets them zoom way in on the tiny details, and the other lets them pull way back to see the entire landscape. And those two lenses are called microeconomics and macroeconomics. Micro is all about the individual players, like why you choose to buy one brand of coffee over another, or how a single company decides to price its products. It's like studying a single specific tree in a huge forest. Macro, on the other hand, is the big picture. It's about the health of the entire forest. It tackles the huge questions like inflation, unemployment, and the total output of a country. So if macroeconomics is all about the health of the entire forest, the next logical question is, how in the world do you measure that? How do you check the vital signs of an entire country's economy? Well, that brings us to probably the most famous three letters in all of economics, GDP. GDP. It stands for Gross Domestic Product, and the absolute key to understanding it is that middle word, domestic. It's the total value of every single thing, every car, every coffee, every haircut, produced within the geographical borders of a country. When you're talking about GDP, it is all about location, location, location. And this focus on location has a really interesting twist. For something to be counted in a country's GDP, it just has to be made inside its borders. It literally doesn't matter who made it. So get this. If a Japanese company builds a car factory in Ohio, the value of every car that rolls off that assembly line counts towards America's GDP, not Japan's. All that matters is where it was made. And this isn't just some theoretical number that economists talk about. It's a real figure that governments track obsessively. In India, for instance, there's a whole ministry, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, or MOSPI, that has the massive job of calculating this number every single quarter. But what if we wanted to measure things differently? What if we weren't so interested in the location, but more in the people, the citizens of a country? What if we wanted to follow the money they make, no matter where they are in the world? Well, you guessed it. There's a metric for that, too. And that metric is Gross National Product, or GNP. See the pattern here? The key word this time is national. GNP doesn't care about borders, it follows a country's citizens. It adds up the total value of everything produced by a country's nationals, no matter where on the planet they happen to be living and working. Putting them side by side makes it crystal clear. GDP is all about geography. GNP is all about citizenship. Let's go back to that example. An Indian citizen who's working in Dubai. Their work contributes to the GDP of the UAE because that's the location. But their income contributes to the GNP of India because they are a national of India. Pretty cool, right? So how are these two massive numbers actually connected? Well, there's a pretty simple formula that links them. You can figure out a country's GNP by taking its GDP and just adding one more thing, something called net factor income from abroad. I know that sounds super technical, but I promise it's simple. Net factor income from abroad is just the money a country's citizens earn in other countries minus the money that foreign citizens earn inside that country. That's it. It's the final little piece of the puzzle that lets you switch from the location-based view of GDP to the citizen-based view of GNP. So now we have GDP and GNP, two really powerful tools for measuring economic production. But here's the final thought I want to leave you with. These numbers are about output, about money, about stuff. But do they really capture the well-being of a nation's people? That's a much deeper question, and it's one that economists, and really all of us, are still trying to answer.